Peace, God. What's today's mathematics?
From the loose joints, 1976, on the bus going to Franklin K. Lane. Because of Rasta T, who's one of the individuals that Glaze, say, that he was scared of. And Rasta T was really, Rasta T. But anyway, getting to this story, because a lot of times I don't even got to big up, my comrade's channel, BGG, Brian Glaze Gibbs, because I speak about him because we all come from the same hood. So a lot of our stories, or now that I'm on, I have my own individual stories about these individuals that was on the set. So at one of his joints, he talks about the A-Team versus the Jamaicans, okay? Now I'm going into this story, and once again, I do not be, trying to diss anybody when I'm telling the story. A lot of my stories, I change the name, but if I do use your name, it's not out of no disrespect, it's more out of, what I'm saying, shining light on the situation, and to a way, maybe letting people know about some of the people that they don't speak about. Because out the hood, they always going to speak about all the people that they done already glorified, But there was an individual at that time named Jamaican Chris. And I grew up with Jamaican Chris and his brother Mikey. You know what I'm saying? They was my mans from day one. All of us played ball in the park. They was, from the side block. And Mikey, he wasn't no joke. Once again, like I said, not bragging or boasting, but most of these individuals that I know that spent 25 years or better, in the P-Now institution for born Cypher Divine bodies. So Mikey caught one early in the 80s, because I used to come back and forth, and they got a uncle named Herbie. Herbie is and Rasta T and Blocker and all, they was all like, the big time dreads out our way with the weed gates and everything else. And I used to get, pounds of weed from Herbie, in the early 80s for like $400 a pop. So I come to New York, get my joint, go back down there, and that's how I made it through college. Ain't hurting nobody. In college they go party. Weed is something, minor. But anyway, what happened in this story, when I get ready to read it to you, is that a person made the wrong choice by saying something to somebody that they didn't know how much influence and how much of a real, OG that he was dealing with. So before I get into the total story, like I said, Jamaican Chris, Mikey, Herbie, all of them was my peoples. But Chris, right now, I don't know if he do a natural life neither, but he also got swept up, and been in the feds now. I know he got to have at least 20 years in now or better too. And I made a mistake, y'all, and I know I should have stuck with what I know. My brother Ken Do did wisdom power, not wisdom. But I looked down at the bottom of the little picture I got off of Instagram, and I went with that. So that's my fault with that, because usually, it's always knowledge before wisdom. But anyway, getting back, Chris was doing this thing back then. Weed Gates, you know, he had the joint right there on Euclid and Belmont, you know. I know numerous chicks that used to work up in his Weed Gate, but all of us go way back. So even when it be beef with certain individuals, they still dealt with me differently, just like I dealt with them differently because we all go way back. So right now, I'm going to get ready to read this particular article. And once again, like I said, the A-Team is a movement, you know? From out of that revolutionary mindset, next came, you know, the brothers with the Black Messiahs. Because the third world didn't work out too well because of a certain issue that I'm not going to bring up, you know, with one of our infamous, you know, brothers that showed us everything, breaking down weapons and so forth and so on, you know. And that's why y'all got to be careful when y'all out there with all these pretty looking girls and so forth, because they be CIs too. And you know, individuals quick to chase some power, you say why. And all the time, you know, you ain't on point, they put something in your drink, and then now, you know, a general, a shocker, you know, a Tariq. Now, you don't know why they walking around half out their mind. So, always stay on point. Always stay paranoid. Okay? So now, I'm going to get to this article right here. Put my reading glasses on this time. Okay? Y'all will see the article when I do it, you know, like always. This one states, Sniper wound 2, attack cops and flee. Okay? You're going to see the officer inspects Martell cocktails left on the Brooklyn roof by snipers. Like I said, once again, make sure y'all go back and look at my first video, not the introduction, but part 1, you know, of the A-Team. And you'll see what I mean by these rules. Okay? I'm beginning with this article. 3 rooftop snipers cut down 2 Presbyterians in a barrage of bullets in East New York last night. They escaped after blasting away at 3 heroic cops who braved the gunfire but refused to shoot back, fearing they might hit innocent bystanders, which was a total 100% lie, and I'll tell you why later on. The cops found 3 mocktail cocktails, several spent shotgun shells on the 7th-story Brooklyn rooftop at 315 Fountain Avenue in Cypress Housing Complex. Okay? Once again, 315. I show y'all also in that 18 part 1 how that was one of our main headquarters and everything else. Marshall Brooks of Westbury, Long Island, was hit in the arm and shoulder and taken to Brookdale Hospital. Fritz St. Fleur, 26, of Freeport, Long Island, suffered superficial wounds. Now, if y'all know anything, you know a lot of Jamaicans is called Fritz and whatever. So, just because the police said that they was innocent bystanders doesn't necessarily mean that they was. Now, once again, all this is alleged that I'm going to tell you that took place later on. Okay? The anti-crime unit, Sergeant Michael Trachtenberg, said that he and the officers John Mayer and John Annabelle heard the shots at Crystal Street and Sutter Avenue at 7 p.m. Now, any of y'all know anything, that's the spot that Chris had that sat right on the corner. That was a restaurant forever. You know, used to be a record shop next to it, and then it was Dan Supreme, you know, back in the days before the 77 blackout. Okay, so that's right on the corner of Crystal and Sutter, which is directly across from 315 Rooftop in Cypress Hills Projects. 2 men were shot. People were running for cover, and a female was crawling on the ground, he said. We stopped the car and opened the doors and shouted up to them, "Police, stop." Instead, they fired at us. Once with the shotgun and a few times with handguns. First of all, y'all, anybody that know anything about artillery and so forth and so on, you know, shotguns usually don't carry no long range like that. So how was they able to tell that it was a shotgun? Yeah, you could tell after you get on the roof if any of the shells was left, which there was a lot of mistakes that day. Okay, let's just keep it like that. Trachtenberg said the 3 cops held their fire because there were too many people peering from the windows. At least 15 rounds from 2 handguns and 4 to 5 shotgun rounds were fired at the crowd below. Now, first of all, why would people that live in the projects that's used to gunfire all the time, the last thing they're going to do is stick their head out the window while gunfire is going on so that they can catch a stray bullet? I'm going to tell you what happened. Those police froze. And all they did was stay in their cars until everything was over, but they had to tell, you know, their superiors that they did something, so of course they put it in the paper like, you know, they were some heroes. And once again, don't get me wrong, I'm not, you know what I'm saying, glorifying doing anything to police. I'm not glorifying, you know, shooting at innocent people or any of that type of violence. But I also want to let you know that sometimes they put things in the paper and on the news that's not the truth. And especially when they need to make themselves look good in a given situation like this. Okay? So now, I'm going to end this with Trachtenberg, radio for help, and police helicopters hovered over the area, but the 3 snipers escaped. Anything would be speculation. We do not know the cause for the shooting spree, the sergeant said. Okay? Once again, you know, all my joints is either, you know, from the Daily News or the Post or whatever, you know, but this is talking about some Pulitzer Prize for a chorus line in 1976. So I know that this was around, you know, maybe like 83 or something. I probably was home from school. I know it was summertime because if they saying that it took place at 7 p.m. at night, but yet it was still daylight, you know, because you could tell from the photo, you know, that the officer, when he found those cocktails up on the roof, okay? But how this story go is, you know, my man Damu was just coming back out in the free cipher or whatever, and like I said, shout out to my man that I'm gonna talk about right now, and you know I don't mean no harm, because we once again go way back. I love you, you know, and your brother Rahul, Nick, and Rahul. Matter of fact, around that time, Rahul had went into the army, and he was the one that was hitting Domino and a lot of them over there on Sunnyside with guns when he was coming back and forth from the military. But once again, he ran into an unfortunate situation off base, you know, ended up with a ball Cypher Divine. Why? I thought it was somebody in the military, a captain or whatever, and he was going to be in Leavenworth or whatever. I heard he got 99 years, but when I caught my bid, one of my bids down there in Now C, I ran into him up in, you know, Salisbury High Rise. And he was already down like 20-something odd years dead, and that's the first time he ever ran into somebody that was really from, you know, the cradle, from Cypress, you know. We grew up together. So at that time, you know, everybody then came into their own. Nick was doing this thing, you know. Nick, Chris, Domino, all of them was together. And Nick was doing his little thing up there on Pickens Avenue and Dosha, you know, with the boy or whatever, you know. And like I said, Chris was doing his thing. That was one of his spots then. And my man Farad, the Muslim, he used to cook for him over there. So along with the weed and selling food, people frequent them, you know, often. So like I said, Damu go in there to get a bag of weed, and somehow him and Nick end up in some type of verbal altercation. Now, Damu, you know, karate expert, all that, like I said, not only did they teach us, you know, things and books to read, you know, that was going to make us conscious, message to the black man, our savior has arrived, fall of America, you know what I'm saying? Native Son, all them books I read as a teenager. You know, Solar Ice. But like I said, I don't know whether Nick didn't remember who Damu was or whatever, from the Black Messiahs to the Buccaneer Lords and everything else. And we named, you know, ourselves Buccaneer Lords because back then, one of the same individuals, they owed the brothers and everything. They the first gang they had out there, you know, to fight against, you know, the white boys terrorizing the blacks in the project. We're called Imperial Buccaneers. That's what Minister Allah was a part of, Ski had. And that's how far that go back. You know, they was the first ones to pop up in there, and you know, the 50s. Cypress was built in 1954. Okay? So, Nick run off with the Gibbs, however it may be, and Damu smashed him in the eye. You know, swelled his eye up like the Elephant Man. You know? So, you know, him being our supreme OG, and everything that we love daily, because see, that's the difference back then. You know, you ain't had to tell us nothing for our older brothers that we love. And not saying that they couldn't do it themselves, but we was happy to take care of business for them. So when everything's said and done, Moo come through, had no part with that, but he told us what was going on, so we felt away. So once again, you know, it's different strokes for different folks, but we talk about, like I said, the early 80s, the A-team before we was the A-team involved with narcotics, okay? So we was the A-team, like the A-team, we always been conscious with the movement, you know, of the plight of our people. So once that was heard, then it was like, yo, we got to, you know, give them a message. And once again, like I said in my video a few days ago about my brother that just came on, Kid Do, you know what I'm saying, not contradicting anything that, like I said, my brother Glaze said, because, you know, Everybody go through different things at different times. All I can tell you is what I know of the person who I dealt with, And that particular time, if I'm not mistaken, we might have went to Plaza and got that shotgun or one of those big handguns or whatever that was used in that situation. And once again, this is before Kendu and them started dealing with narcotics also. We was young 5%ers. So, the wise man of the East makes his history of Quran to equal his home circumference. So like I said, not only was we warriors, but we were scientists too. And we all built and stayed together, unified. So if you got a problem with one of us, on the low, you got a problem with all of us. And once again, I'm not bigging up our nation from anything self-destructive. But I have to deal with the facts because for some reason, a lot of y'all always want to keep us out of how dominant we was back then. And a lot of y'all would love your children now to be studying black history, to get knowledge of themselves, to understand that they was kings and queens, that, they invented the shoe, the lighting system, heart transplant, anything. Study the history of the Moors. How when they went up into, Seville, Toledo, Granada, and civilized them. When the Queen of England, was dying with 16 pounds of makeup on her face because they considered bathing to be wicked. Study yourself, black man. Study yourself, black woman. Educate our black children. Save the babies. And yes, we got involved with a lot of things because after 400 years of all the atrocities, come on, man, we ain't got to go through this. And this is why they want to take books out of schools and everything else that's going on. And this is why they want to radicalize their young, and send them on missions, whether they did it or not. If you preaching, hatred toward any group of people, annihilation of people or holding people back based on their pigmentation, then that's not right and exact. So like I said, the moral to the story is that Nick didn't know who Damu was. And out of that, it turned into what it turned into with, individuals shooting down off the roof, and by the time the police went up there, that was a mistake because, of course, the Martells nor the shells, you're supposed to clean up behind yourself. So they spend it off like, they was heroic, and the individuals that got shot was just, people that passed by, but they both so happily was from Long Island. Come on, we know what that was. And we didn't do things to innocent bystanders back then. Our targets was our targets. So, in this episode right here, I hope that, once again, I gave y'all a little food for thought, because had my brother Nick knew who Damu was, then he wouldn't have made the choice to, disrespect a great individual like that. Because those brothers, made the sacrifice and paved the way, for us. And then we paved the way for others. Manhood got to be learned, manhood got to be taught. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be true to yourself first before you can be true to others. And like I stated, my word is my bond. So the conclusion of that little, 18 versus the Jamaicans, which it really wasn't to that point, it just was Jamaican Chris had owned that establishment when that particular situation took place. And, to get the beef squash, my man Nick apologized as far as what I know, and the whole situation was that. So use that as an example when y'all dealing with what you so-called hood politics, okay? Stop always being quick to kill one another, to air one another out, knock each other's head off, all this nonsense, and get radicalized in your mind with truth and righteousness. Equality means to be equal in everything. Want for your brother what you want for yourself. And hopefully on this one, I hit y'all with some more jewels. I'm going to dress it up with a couple of, things from out of the Black Seeds calendar 1983. Because I've been conscious for a long, long time. Also, I'm going to put there a picture that Tut sent me from the P now, a couple of years back. I ain't been in touch with my comrade like I should. And also I support DJ Keith Watkins, his program, No Kid Left Behind. And, they on a mission with help getting Tut free. Like I said before, they used the Tut as a guinea pig to start knocking our heads off with our prior state convictions. And it was no longer white-collar crimes because they was no longer arresting white people for crimes, but it became the war on drugs. And they was giving people hundreds of thousands of years that didn't even have no bodies. It don't make you soft if you made millions of dollars out in the street without having to kill a bunch of individuals to get it. That makes you intelligent. But now because intelligence is corny, is dull, is this, or is that knowledge, I ain't with none of that. A lot of y'all wish that y'all would listen to us and get these jewels before you end up with the Rico. Because it was just good a day ago. Or like Jay-Z said, we were just good a week ago. But now, once they get you in their claws, in their grip, then handle the consequences. Justice is a reward or penalty for one's acts and deeds. So if your actions is like that of a savage in the pursuit of happiness, deal with the consequences. If you doing what you got to do to survive and you ain't hurting nobody or whatever, that's your way. You being rewarded. I can't tell y'all what to do. All I can tell you is be mindful of the things you do. Make the right choices while you young. Once again, I thank y'all. I'm up over 20,000 views right now within these 28 days. I'm coming I got constant content for y'all. You know, I was gonna come with 2 joints in one, but I decided to hold off on that. Everything is real, my people. Stay conscious, stay mindful. Learn how to go back to loving your brothers and sisters. But before you can love your brothers and sisters, you gotta first love yourself. All right? So until the next episode, make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all subscribe to God in them streets. I'm going to have it all together soon where I can start getting up on these different channels, because I'm hearing a lot from you young brothers. And a lot of y'all, I'm very much impressed how y'all are giving the proper knowledge, the proper food for thought to our young generation that's out here. It's a lot of them, we're not going to be able to save them. They too far gone. You know? And it's sad that they got to do those long bids or they got to end up in the graveyard. But we got to constantly keep teaching. I'm using all of these stories not to glorify it, not to be on no gangsterism, not to say I was more gangster or my hood was more gangster or my, set or my crew. But to let y'all know how you got to be thinking every step of the way. Like one of my OGs told me in the hood, never think of what could just happen. Always think of the worst thing that could happen. So once again, like I said, y'all know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm up to 300 and some change subscribers. I'm looking after this to go up to at least 5 to 1,000. I'm like the rookie. Like Poole on Golden State. And a couple of them other ones was doing their thing. I'm coming in trying to do mine and educate y'all and give you something worthwhile listening to in the process. Peace.